If you are a fan of motorsports, you're going to love this weekend. What is up, everybody? My name is Evan Bruce. Welcome back to the channel. And this Sunday is the day motorsports goes wild, where Formula One, IndyCar, and NASCAR all race their crown jewel races all in the same day. To kick off the day, we start in Monaco for the Monaco Grand Prix, where last year we saw Ferrari and Charles Leclerc be victorious, with Leclerc being the first monogasque-born driver to win the Monaco Grand Prix in 93 years. You know, it's a very big deal. You know, the commentary call for that race is arguably one of the best commentary calls in Formula One history, where it kind of dives into Leclerc's history, where his dad passed and he told a lie saying, "Hey, I've got an F1 contract," when that didn't happen, and then he ends up getting a ride for Sauber for the 2018 season and eventually moves to Ferrari and was hit with the Monaco curse. And every year, Leclerc was the favorite to win Monaco because it's his home Grand Prix. And if it wasn't, you know, he would crash in qualifying or crash in the race. You know, Ferrari doing Ferrari things with poor pit strategy, or he'll crash in qualifying, get the car fixed, and then on the warm-up lap have a problem with the gearbox. And then he was finally able to break that last year, wins the Grand Prix, and Ferrari, who was kind of at a struggle point last year, kind of broke through with that. But this year, it's going to be a little different, as Ferrari has their work cut out. They're fighting for the fourth best car right now. Williams is closing behind with Albon and Sainz. You know, and the top three cars right now are McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull, albeit not in that order, but those are the top three cars this year. You know, McLaren, they've got Norris and Piastri. Red Bull, they have Tsunoda now as their second driver, along with Verstappen. Mercedes has George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Ferrari, they've got Leclerc and Hamilton, which is arguably one of the stronger driver pairings out of all the grid, but for some reason, the car and the speed is just not there. You know, Hamilton's been trying to get speed into that car. Leclerc's been trying to get the most out of that car, but Ferrari being Ferrari, that's shit strategy. And at a place like Monaco, where there's very limited overtake possibilities, it's very much a track position race. You know, I think you're only going to be able to pass, really, if you make a mistake, and it's a costly mistake, or you're going to have to make those positions in pit road. And, you know, with the pit stops only lasting at most 2 seconds, there's not a lot of time to be made or lost in pit lane. And a lot of your race result is going to come down to your qualifying result, your qualifying position, and keeping your race clean. And I think if Ferrari can nail qualifying and have a really strong spot in qualifying, all you have to do is really defend your position, because you can't pass at Monaco, even with the assistance of DRS. There's very minimal overtake possibilities in Monaco because of the type of track it is, and because of how tight and narrow it is with the size of these cars. You know, 10 years ago, you could easily pass on the streets of Monaco because the cars were a lot smaller. But now, with the cars being as long as they are, it makes it more difficult each year. Yes, the cars are getting smaller, as with these regulations, they're a lot smaller than the cars from 21 and 2020, and with next year in 2026, with the new regulations, the cars are going to get even shorter, but even still, I don't think it's enough to save the racing at Monaco. Like, yes, it's a prestigious race, and a lot of fans want to keep it because of the prestigious value, because everybody wants to win Monaco. But looking at it from a fan perspective, you can't pass. And looking at it from a fan and competition perspective, you can't pass. And so Ferrari's got their work cut out if they want to defend. Arguably, I don't think Ferrari's got it in them to qualify well. I think it's going to be a battle between the McLaren and the Red Bull. And I honestly think that Piastri is going to be the one to do it. I think Norris has already shown his cards. And I think it's going to be a battle for the championship between Norris and Piastri. But in this race, I think Piastri just has that level of intensity to him to win the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, I'm not saying that it's an all-out guarantee. Leclerc could surprise us. It is his home Grand Prix. He tends to pull out a surprise if nothing goes wrong. He got the pole a couple years ago, despite the fact he crashed in qualifying when he got the pole. He would have probably won the race if it wasn't for the gearbox going out on him in the warm-up lap or the formation lap. Or not even the formation lap. It was before they even got to the grid to set up for the formation lap. The gearbox went out on him. So I think if Ferrari keeps that clean and they can do really well in qualifying, I think it's a fair shot. But all honestly, I don't think it's possible for Ferrari. Now, kind of keeping up with the itinerary for Sunday for the Motorsports Gone Wild, we head over to Indianapolis for the 109th running of the Indy 500. And there's a lot of really big storylines heading into this race on Sunday. Kyle Larson attempting to do the double again. He's locked in. He's starting the 500 in 21st. If everything goes well with weather and he's able to complete the 500, he'll be on pace to start the Coca-Cola 600. As last year, weather kind of eliminated that as rain pushed back the start of the Indy 500. Larson decided to finish out the 500, finished 18th, I want to say, in the 500. Had a really good run, was running top 10 majority of the day before a late speeding penalty. And then the rain hit Charlotte and ultimately postponed Charlotte, pushed Charlotte back, and then canceled Charlotte just moments after Larson arrived. So Larson attempting to do the double again. If everything stays clear, he'll be able to do it. Another big topic and storyline is rookie driver and rookie team Robert Schwartzman and Prima are on pole for the Indy 500, along with two-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato and last year's runner-up Pato O'Ward. And yes, you heard that right. Prima, a team most notable for being in Formula 2 competition, the Feeder Series 2 Formula 1, is on pole with Robert Schwartzman in the Indy 500, an oval race. So that is really well done by Robert Schwartzman and Prima. But unfortunately, that is being overshadowed by what's happening over at the Team Penske stable. There is a lot of controversy happening over at Team Penske. Just the other day, Team Penske fired their team principal, Tim Cindric, as well as their managing director and general manager after there was issues in qualifying. As you guys may know, Scott McLaughlin crashed in practice just before the Fast 12 qualifying. He was unable to make a lap. He will start the race in 10th. But the other two Penske cars, the number 2, back-to-back two-time winner Joseph Newgarden, and the 12 of the 2018 Indy 500 winner Will Power, were disqualified from Fast 12 qualifying and have ultimately been moved to the rear of the field due to modifying the rear attenuator. And the biggest controversy in that is they were on pit road making modifications and adjustments to the rear attenuator. Multiple teams and drivers saw it, most notably Chip Ganassi saw it, alerted IndyCar officials, and basically put a stop to it. But a lot of the controversy is coming from the cars themselves. A lot of people have been making claims that the same modified rear attenuator that was on the 2 and 12 this year is on the 2 of Joseph Newgarden's car from last year. And that car is on display in the Indy 500 Museum. Now, whether or not that's 100% accurate and true, I have no idea. I'm a fan outside looking in. I don't follow IndyCar that close. I follow it enough to know the drivers, the teams, and the tracks they run at, but I don't follow it closely enough to understand every bit and piece of the cars and the rules and all that. But from what I understand, the piece that they altered or made modifications to is a spec piece, meaning you can't make any modifications or adjustments to it. You basically get it as is. You put it on the car as is. And what Penske was doing to the 2 and the 12 was there's a lip on that piece. And they basically tried to seal it and make it flush with the car. That way it's flat and aerodynamics, instead of hitting it and getting diverted that way, it's able to kind of curve and flow around it, which, especially at a place like Indianapolis, and especially in qualifying where every little tenth matters, that was a big adjustment. And IndyCar caught it. A lot of the teams caught it. Basically, they were making adjustments to the rear of the car when you're not supposed to. The only adjustments you can make once you get out of pre-qualifying inspection is wing angle for the front and rear wing, as well as tire pressure. You can't make any other adjustments to the car. And they were kind of doing that. They got busted. They went back. They got caught. And that was that. And then they just fired 3 people. So that's kind of a big thing, big deal. Another really somewhat big talking point heading into the Indy 500 is the new hybrid engine that is in these cars for this year's race. There's a lot of weight that has been added to the back of these cars due to the new hybrid engine, and during the month of May, we've seen a lot of crashes, and some really big ones too. Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, Takuma Sato, Kyle Larson, Kiffin Simpson had a really big moment where the rear of the car, as soon as it steps out and you lose the rear, the car is going around. And there's a very slim chance, very, very slim chance of catching it. And by the time you try to get onto the steering and catch it, you're already behind. Rear of the car is already around and you're going into the wall. And that could play a really big factor in the race. As you know, we've had a lot of single car runs, we've had a lot of small, like packs of 2 or 3. You have a car go around in a pack in front of the pack of 33 cars. There's a chance that there's going to be a really big accident. Last year we saw the tire get clipped off from when Felix Rosenqvist spun in front of Kyle Kirkwood, and saw the tire from that car, the rear of the tire, get cleaned off and went over the catch fence. And this month we've seen Scott McLaughlin hit the wall and go on its side. We've seen Kiffin Simpson hit the wall, go up in the air and on its side. We've seen Colton Herta go up and over. We've seen Christian Rasmussen spin twice in practice. We've seen Takuma Sato hit the wall big. We've seen Kyle Larson hit the wall a couple of times and have crashed. So there's a lot of uncertainty going into this race, especially with a lot of the weight being in the rear of the car due to the hybrid engine, and seeing how that can affect, especially if there's a car to the outside of another car when they get sideways. There's a possibility that there could be a really, really big accident in the 500, and that's been kind of a key talking point heading into this weekend, aside from everything happening at Penske and then obviously Sportsman with pole. And then lastly, We head over to Charlotte for the longest race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, the Coca-Cola 600. Last year, rain kind of came in and ruined the Kyle Larson attempt at the double. And he wasn't able to complete all 1,100 miles between the 500 and the 600 miles between the two races. And the rain actually caused the race to get canceled moments after Larson arrived to Charlotte to try and get into the car and run laps. As you guys may know, Justin Allgaier ran the 5 car for what ended up being the entirety of the race. But we saw Christopher Bell be crowned the winner at the end when they decided to call the race for rain. And it was really kind of a smart strategy for the number 20 in the Joe Gibbs Racing team to play it smart. They knew the rain was coming. They've been hit with rain a couple of times that night. And to play the strategy right, play their cards right, to be in the lead when the big rainstorm came, ultimately worked out. So hopefully skies remain clear. There's no weather coming in for the 600, because as much as I'm not a Larson fan, and as much as I don't like Larson, just due to reasons, I want to see him attempt the double and complete the double. Because if he does, he'll be the third driver. He'll be the third driver to do it twice. Realistically, he's only done it once because he never really stepped foot in the NASCAR, in the Cup car last year. So I want to see him complete it. I want to see him do well. And then I'm kind of interested to see how this race plays out, as we're now in the 4th year of the next gen car, and it's kind of ran its course over those 4 years, and it's gotten to the point where it's very much track position raced. Every bit of track position matters, whether you gain or lose it on pit road or whether you can make it up on restarts, because the dirty air plays a big factor. We saw it at Texas a couple weeks ago. We saw it at Kansas just recently, how much the dirty air affects these next-gen cars and makes it difficult to pass. And we've seen it a lot in the mile and a halves. The short track package and the road course package on these cars, they're not the best. These cars, there's a lot of changes that need to be made to these cars to have the short tracks and the road courses run really well. That was a big talking point last weekend in the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. But as they've kind of progressed a mile and a half, the package has kind of dwindled a little bit. These cars are aerosensitive. And while, yes, Charlotte, for the last couple of years, have put on some of the best racing we've seen in the best mile and a half package, it also, at the same time, a lot of the action and highlights you see is from restarts, because drivers get desperate. They lose a couple positions on pit road. They get desperate on restarts to try and make up those positions, because once everything kind of settles down and spreads out, it gets very difficult to pass. Because, again, you'll get stuck behind a car, and you can run a lane lower than the car in front of you, but then that car will come down into your lane, and you'll lose the nose of your car, and you lose any or all momentum that you had, and it makes it more difficult to complete the pass. But we are now hitting the segment where it's time to pick my favorites and give my picks and predictions for each race. Obviously, I'm not holding my breath for Charlotte. It could really surprise me. It could ultimately be a really good race, as they do tend to have the best races for whatever reason. So, will we see that? I don't know. But this weekend, you've got the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, you've got Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the Coca-Cola 600. Obviously, Friday night, you've got the truck race. I think Corey Heim is going to be dominant again, and he's going to win the truck race. It's kind of hard to bet against him. I think the only other person that you have that will come close is probably either Lane Riggs or some of the BMR trucks. Daniel Hemrick's been pretty strong this year. He's got a win already. He won at Martinsville. He's got speed. He ran well at Homestead. He ran well at Vegas. He's got speed. But I just don't see anyone beating the 11 of Corey Heim. For the Xfinity race, I'm kind of going out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to say Jesse Love is going to be the favorite to win Charlotte. Obviously, you've got drivers like Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, Carson Kvapil, I think are going to be favorites, but ultimately I think it's going to be Jesse Love that's going to win the Xfinity race. Now, for Sunday, the big day, Monaco Grand Prix, I think, is going to go to Oscar Piastri. I think the McLarens are going to be too strong. I think Piastri has got what it takes to win the championship this year. I think he's going to do it before Norris does. As much as I like Norris, I think Piastri's got the better chance to win the Drivers' Championship. And it really comes down to how well he can run Monaco. And I think he's got the skill, he's got the talent to really do well. And I think with just the pure pace of McLaren, they're going to qualify well, they're going to qualify up front, they're going to lock out the front row, and it's going to be Piastri followed by Norris and Verstappen. I don't see anyone else really challenging that except maybe Verstappen, but that's it. That's the only person I can really see challenging. For the Indy 500, there's a lot of favorites. Takuma Sato is one of the favorites. He's up in the front row. He's a two-time Indy 500 winner. Scott Dixon is always a favorite going into the Indy 500. Elio Castroneves, he's won the Indy 500 4 times. He's in the field. Kyle Larson is a favorite. Newgarden is a favorite, albeit he's starting in the back now. But ultimately, I think that the winner of the Indy 500 is going to be Pato O'Ward. I think he's going to get redemption from last year. I think it's now kind of clear that maybe the 2-car last year wasn't exactly legal. And he's going to get redemption. He finished second last year. He had the lead on the last lap before Newgarden passed him up again. And I think he's going to go in with that hunger. And I think it's Pato O'Ward's race to lose. I think he's going to get redemption. And then the last race to end the day Motorsports Gone Wild is the Coca-Cola 600. And I think, call me crazy, I know you've got favorites. Larson, Bell, arguably the 2 best drivers in the Cup Series right now. They're been the most dominant. But I think it's going to be Ryan Blaney. I think he's going to turn his season around. He's arguably been one of the better Penske cars and one of the better Ford teams. They've just been hit with bad luck. For like the first 5 races, they had 2 blown engines early in a race. They've been taken out of races. He got involved in a crash at Vegas. They've shown speed. They just haven't had the finishes. And like, as I said, Austin Cindric has statistically, finishing order, has been the best and most solid Penske car. But when you look at running position, I think Blaney has Cindric beat. And this is kind of at the point now where you start getting into that postseason form. If you have a really strong summer, it sets you up really well for the postseason. And we've seen it happen before with Blaney. He goes on, he wins the Coke 600, has a good, strong summer, gets into the playoffs, has a really strong playoffs, and ultimately won the championship. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again with Blaney. I think they're going to start turning their season around. And it honestly would start at the Coke 600. And I think he's got it. Yes, Bell is one of the favorites. Larson is a favorite as well. Tyler Reddick is a favorite potentially as well. Denny Hamlin is a favorite. William Byron you can probably throw into the mix. But ultimately, I think deep down, it's kind of a wild card pick, but I think Ryan Blaney has got the Coke 600. Let me know what you guys think who's going to win each race. Let me know your picks and predictions down in the comments below. But before I send off this video, I do want to let you guys know that we do have a Twitch channel and an Instagram page. Twitch is mainly there for all your gaming content needs. It's mostly a lot of Fortnite and sim racing. I've been doing a lot of stuff with Gran Turismo recently, getting back into the swing of things and running league racing on Gran Turismo. I've also been doing a lot of NASCAR Heat 5 racing on Gran Turismo, but it's mostly been a lot of Fortnite. GTA is kind of getting back into the mix. Rocket League is getting back in, but that's there for all your gaming content. Like, yes, you'll see some of it here and there on the channel, and then you'll also see some highlights on the Instagram page, as that kind of serves as a way for me to show you highlights from the Twitch streams, as well as give you guys updates on the channel, as well as kind of give you a little bit of an insight of what I'm talking about, what the next video is going to be, what's going to happen, you know. And it's a way to kind of express my knowledge to you guys, and it's a way for you to get an insight of the type of content that you'll see on Twitch if you follow and stay in with the streams. You'll see highlights, you'll see everything that's there. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like that, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload again. Again, be sure to follow us on Twitch and Instagram. It's under the same username, right here. And as always, I will see you guys in the very next video. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and have a happy Sunday for Motorsports Gone Wild. Peace.